So, so yesterday I came across this post from Give Me Sport, and it's another one of those attempts to list the top 10, top 50, 100 athletes around the world. And these are usually very opinionated, they're kind of anecdotal, there's very opaque. You don't really know what goes into them. And and for me, I've always seen Don Bradman and Michael Jordan as the top two. But this got me thinking as to, well, you know, are they really the top two? Because what we have at the moment is kind of these lists that are generated, and they're really probably just generated for clicks, and it's not doesn't really matter how right or wrong they are. But I was wondering if there's a way that we can kind of limit our biases, kind of keep us honest, add some transparency to the process, so it's in effect more quantifiable than it is subjective and anecdotal. So what I've done is I've tried to develop a way to quantifiably rank the world's greatest athletes, and I've called it WILS. And WILS stands for Winning, Impact, Longevity, Statistics. And so it's kind of a starting point, and then from which anyone can kind of iterate and evolve into their own model. So here it is. To be able to download it, all you need to do is go to the link in the description, and then that will take you to this area right here. And then this will all be grayed out, but you'll just be able to hit the download button. And from there, you'll be able to take it and evolve it as you'd like to. So let's have a little look at that. So ignore the players for now. We'll come to that in a minute. But if we kind of just look at the areas of focus, so we've kind of got these areas here, the sport, when it was kind of invented. This doesn't impact anything at the moment, but it might be used. So for example, if you feel it's important to be part of the kind of ranking process, that this contributes, whether it adds to or detracts from the value of the player, that might be up to some to include that. And then kind of the popularity of the sport on a global level. Again, this is not included in my model, but others may wish to include it. We've then got kind of generational impact and global impact. They're kind of almost like catch-all areas, but we'll maybe touch on them as we kind of move along. We then move into longevity. And this is, again, it's really interesting how to handle this, because there are some players like Tiger Woods who have gone way past their prime. And so this has then started to have a knock-on effect. So is there kind of a cutoff point? How do you kind of manage this kind of longevity side? But it's an important element. At least I feel it is. You can also remove it if you feel it's not. Then key statistics. Currently, this is kind of just taking really probably the most defining stats of the athlete. So this might be player efficiency rating, OPS. But there's some athletes, so for example, we'll get to that maybe in a bit, Wayne Gretzky might be one of them, where, and also some of the football players or soccer players, where they might not be a massive winner in a single stat point, but when you combine a few together, now it becomes something really meaningful. And so the ability to combine multiple stats or measurements into this is going to be important. I've only taken it as a career long stat, so something that's the average of the career, as opposed to focusing on specific matches or maybe seasons. There's a bunch of other issues that come with that, and again, you don't need to follow me. You could change it so that it could be match specific or seasonal, but again, you then need to adjust that for all the other players. And then what we do with the stats is we take that athlete's best stats across their career that defines them, so their career defining stats, and we compare that to the next best. And then that gives us a score. And then from then on, we have, following that, we have the kind of winning percentage. And then down here, we have some weighting. So one of the the areas around winning percentages, that obviously there's going to be a difference between players that are playing individual events and those that are part of a team. So there must be a way to kind of normalize that. I've come up with an idea here, but I don't know that it's the best way to handle it. And then, yeah, there you go. And then, so kind of when we think about the players, I mean, this is incredible, isn't it? If you look at all the variables that go into this, and then Babe Ruth and Michael Jordan to 2 decimal places have the exact same score. I think that's pretty incredible. The problem child here, obviously, is this fella, Bradman, his winning percentage, and then just statistically how dominant he is beyond the next best. So one way to maybe frame this, and this you'll see the issue here, is if you took, let's say, in baseball, you took the batting average, and you've got Ty Cobb, who I think was batting 366, and Babe Ruth is 342. Well, if Ty Cobb was batting 600, and then Babe Ruth was second with 342, that's the difference. And that it creates issues. You kind of see in the next graph. So I've tried to manage that out with the other areas by weighting them a little more heavily, but it's the mild success there. So we've got the plus minus, and this is quite fascinating as well. We see many of the greats, the areas that they are thought to be really good in, or the leading stats, they're not necessarily a clear leader in that area. In many cases, they are not the leader. But then we've got a couple of areas here, for example, Messi and Ronaldo. I think how I've managed those stats are wrong. This is an example where we need to combine some, because I think what I'm using here is assists and goal ratio over careers, and so there's some really high ratios up there, and they're not there. But I'm maybe missing some points on how better to define their career. And then we can go to kind of winning percentage. And again, you see here Tiger Woods. That's not fair to him. So there needs to be another way to adjust it, because he's ranked 800 and something, and he's been ranked in the hundreds for many years. So yeah, how do you manage that? And then athlete longevity. And I'm sure there's, you can pull out other graphs to display here. So yeah, look, please see this as a bit of a starting point, and you can edit it and change it as you'd wish. But I hope this kind of helps us to add some transparency into the way we measure this. So if we actually want to have a sense of which are the GOATs, well, we need a way that we can measure them that is actually consistent across how we measure the other athletes as well, in a fair way. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful, and have a great time messing around with it. Cheers.